How's it going, everyone? This is Kevin. Today I want to bring along with me to show you my Premiere Pro timeline and export settings for high quality Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. So let's jump right into it. If you've been wondering what most Instagrammers and YouTubers and everybody uses for when it comes down to their timelines and export settings, I thought it would be a great day today to show you my settings for my crispy kind of high quality Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts when it comes down to my process for my timeline and my export settings. I've been asked a couple times how I use my settings and my timeline for everything when it comes down to Premiere Pro, since that's what I use for editing, which I'm sure you can use it to anything that you have for your editing software. But today I'm going to show you my settings for my Premiere Pro 4K timeline. Whether I use this for vertical or horizontal form, pretty much is the same. The only thing I change is just a little bit of the values for the direction of what I want the video to be like. And also what it comes down to, some minor differences in my export settings so that I can have crispy high quality when it comes down to my footage. Because as we all know, social media tends to compress the heck out of our footage, and we want to make sure that we're using the most that we can for the quality of our camera that we spend so much money on to have nice 4K or even 1080p footage upscaled to make it look as best as possible without having to hinder so much the quality because of the compression with social media. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into Premiere Pro, and I'm gonna show you all my settings, and hopefully they'll help you out to be able to put out some more content when it comes down to short form and kill it in the algorithm. Now that we're in Premiere Pro, we're gonna just open up a new project. That way I can show you just something of randomness. Let's just say that we're going to do for timeline example and create. You can either do Control N for a new timeline or just go to File, New, and then Sequence. There you go. So these are my custom ones that I have. I'm going to show you the settings real quick. That way you can just go ahead. So I went into the DSLR mode. So meaning I just picked the one that was the DSLR, digital SLR, picked the 1080p one, and then I just started changing everything. But just so you kind of get an idea, you can, I guess, pick and choose whichever one you've been using and go from there. But my settings are, editing mode, DSLR, boom, right there. The time base is 23.976 because that's what I shoot. I shoot at a 24 frame, timeline whenever I'm exporting everything. So if I do any 120 frames per second footage, I tend to slow it down to 20%. If I do 60 frames per second, I'd slow it down to 40%. So that way I can have it in a 24 pretty much frames per second timeline. So now my frame size is 38 by 40 by 2160, which is my vertical mode for when it comes down to my 4K timeline, like horizontal. So now if I want to use it for TikTok, I just have it reversed. So if I come back to my sequence settings, I did that already for a preset. So I click it, go to my settings, and look at that, flipped around. So we're gonna stay here with the TikTok kind of Reels, since it's more about showing you my export and timeline settings for TikToks and Reels, since a lot of people tend to use it now for that. But if you want to use this as well for your horizontal kind of type of videos, whether it's for YouTube, you just would flip it around for the frame size. And that's pretty much it because it all stays about the same. So now we're going to go a little bit more through it. Pixel aspect ratio, I keep it right there at square pixels 1. The fields, no fields. Display format, 23.976. There you go. Working color space, Rec 709, since that's what I usually shoot log and then have it in Rec 709. My audio is a sample rate of 48,000 hertz. That's just kind of the basic one that it comes with. The video previews don't really matter because they're just previews, as well as you don't have to put the max in bit depth or the render quality yet because it's for the sequence. You're not wanting to have that overload when it comes onto your sequence, so you can use it a lot faster and you can see your footage a lot easier, so it's not as hectic when it comes down to it. So let's just pretend that I'm going to use this for right now. I'm going to do TikTok timeline example and hit OK. So as you see on the bottom here left, it has the TikTok timeline example. It's in a vertical mode. So what I usually do is add an adjustment layer because that's what I'm going to be using for when it comes down to my color grading, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to put a quick example here to show you what it would look like, and that way you have that nice and ready. So now I have my timeline here with the footage that I was going to be using for a TikTok kind of like reel and also short for YouTube's and everything. So this is what it looks like after I'm just, showcasing it right here in my timeline so that you can see that I have my vertical mode. So now when you're ready to export, all you have to do is either click the export, or you can hit the Control M while being in this section clicked in, because if you clicked over here, it won't work, but you just click here, Control M, and then it'll take you to this. So I already have my export preset that I've made. So it's basically, it's a 4K, like 24 frames per second timeline, which right here, you see these black bars. All I have to do is just hit match source so that it matches the size of, the vertical mode, so that way I'm not losing the quality. But let's say that I didn't have this custom setup. All I would do is go to the high quality 2160p 4K, and then same thing, I can just do the match source right here. I want to make sure it has a render a maximum depth, use maximum render quality. When it comes down to the hardware encoding, that's obviously leaving it at that, so you're using your, graphic card and everything like that. When it comes down to right here, the bitrate encoding, what I usually do is keep it at the CBR and then go to 50. So before we change this number right here, see where the estimated file size down here, it says 56 megabits per second. It's a big file size for such a small thing. So we just want to go into the 50 range, hit it 35. So another thing that I want you to see right here in the format part is the .264. We're going to change that actually to a .265 because we're able to use that now when it comes down to our file sizes. From my understanding, it compresses things but without losing the quality, so it's better for uploading and everything like that, so that you don't lose as much quality. That's at least what I understood from other YouTubers that I've seen, and this is something that I thought was very beneficial to pass on to you guys, since I've been doing it for myself, to 1, size manage, and 2, not lose quality. So all I have to do again is just match source. We got the hardware encoding, the main 5.0 high, keep it that, CBR 50, so now I dropped it to 35 megabits, but it'll still be really good quality. And the reason why we do this is so that when you're uploading to anywhere, we're having a higher file size that we normally would, but whenever the compression comes from social media, you're not losing as much quality when it comes down to it. So it helps you out in the long term to make sure that you're not compressing before you even get compressed, so that you can get as much quality out of it, since technically the social media will compress it for you without whether you like it or not. So that's pretty much it. And then when we go up to the audio right here, that's pretty much my settings. I don't really change anything else. That's literally it. The only difference that I add for my effects is just right here is a Lumetri lookup table, which is not my LUTs that I usually apply already for my color grade, but is a gamma compensation LUT that I use. So all I did there is just add that. So whenever I go into my preset that I've already made, so if let's say that you already have it however you want to, you can just go right here and save the preset, name it whatever you want. I already have one saved, so there's no point for me to do this twice. But so I go right here to my 4K 24 frames per second, H.265 CBR 50 with my gamma LUT conversion, so that whenever I click it, see how it gets a little bit darker, just ever so slightly, and more saturated. The reason why that happens is basically because sometimes when you export from Adobe, it tends to desaturate a little bit of the colors as well. Whenever you go into the YouTube kind of uploads, it tends to do that sometimes. So it's just a way to kind of counteract as much as possible. But once we're done with all that, all we do is just either send to media encoder or export, whichever one you want to do, depending if you want to keep editing or doing anything else during your time in Premiere Pro. But that's pretty much it when it comes down to my timeline and export settings for my 4K footage. Anyways, guys, that was my settings for my timeline and my export settings. Hopefully they'll help you out. Make sure to save them as presets so that you can use them anytime in the future without having to reset everything every single time. It'll make it more efficient with your time and your quality of your footage to be able to use it to your advantage. That way, when you're editing and making sure you have new timelines and exports, it is always the best quality that you can have it so that you can use it for yourself. This is what I use personally for all my videos when it comes down to YouTube long format and or short form with Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. So hopefully this little method will help you out to be able to get that crispy, nice footage uploaded without the compression being such a burden on it, because as we know, social media tends to do that. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.